Hi, I'm certified life coach DeJuan J of the High Vibrations Only platform. What you're about to watch is an open coaching session that was actually filmed on TikTok. I pray that the information in the video that you're about to watch will inform, inspire, and ignite you to become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so that you're abreast of all future content coming from me. I'll see you in there. Let's go. The tour has kicked off. We've had 2 stops already. There's another one this evening, and so on and so forth. So we're moving. We're in promotion of my 3rd book that's available for pre-sale right now. Hey Dub, what's happening? If you click the link in my bio, the 3rd book is she said it's just I had to take a mental break from TikTok. No, I get it. Just know that you were missed and thought about and prayed for. Today, I am excited. Why? Because we are in the middle of a series entitled Boom. My DMs though, the first week 1, we talked about a distrusting mindset and how what you read and what you listen to and how the influences around you can cause you to mistrust. Week 2, we talked about a drained motor. We talked about how the things that you hear, the things that you read, the experiences that you have in life can leave you exhausted. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to being socially acceptable. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to fitting in. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to, notice I'm using air quotes when I say all of these, because I personally believe that everybody here was fearfully and wonderfully created to solve a unique problem. I talked about it on Thursday when I preached the message entitled Education Over Emulation. And I was talking about the importance of prayer. And it's important that everybody finds some sense of purpose, to recognize that you were brought to this earth to solve a problem that nobody else could solve. Right? And today I want to talk about my DMs, but this week my DMs stands for deception and manipulation. Deception and manipulation. And it's important that we talk about this because a lot of people don't even recognize that their purpose and their vision is in jeopardy. A lot of people don't recognize that the people that are closest to them, the people with the most access to hurt them, the people that said that I love you first, are the first people to cause damage. Why? Because of deception and manipulation. There's 2 veins that you can go down when it comes down to deception and manipulation, right? The first vein that you can go down is that it is negligent. You can say that, hey, this person didn't mean any harm. This person didn't mean any foul. This person didn't mean to do the things that they were doing to me. But it shows inconsideration. It shows an inconsideration for who you are as a person. It shows an inconsideration of the boundaries that you've set. It shows an inconsideration for your mental and emotional health. Or you can go down the second vein, which is done out of malice. Now, this is where the seeds of jealousy are planted. This is where the seeds of envy have been planted. Lady Kane, what's happening? This is where the seeds of not being you have been planted. And down these 2 veins, you come into a relationship. You come into a place where people will connect with you with full intent to sabotage. Or people will connect to you looking for you to fill a hole or a void inside of their life. And because they're so thirsty, because they're so empty on the inside, because they're hollow on the inside, they don't recognize that what they're doing to you is actually detrimental to your mental and emotional health. And today I'd like to give you an outline of what's going to happen. I'd like to set the framework for this because I already know that there's going to be a part 2 to this, because there is so much to unpack. There is so much to get into here. I'm going to talk about the types of deception. I'm going to talk about why your judgment is important. I'm going to talk about why discernment is so important. I'm going to talk about the difference between judgment and assessment. I'm going to talk about knowing when to discern, when to distance, when to draw close to people. I'm going to get into this today, and I'm also going to give you 3 traits of people that will connect to you that are sent to sabotage what it is that you have going on. On his first voyage, or on his voyage in 1942, Christopher Columbus. Lucky, what's happening, Stacy? Welcome in. Elias, welcome in. In 1942, Christopher Columbus was set on this voyage, right? And because his crew was so nervous about charting unknown waters and about going into unknown waters, into doing unknown things, he kept 2 logs. In the first log, he kept the actual distance. He kept the actual distance, the miles traveled, and things of that nature. And in the second log, he shortened what was going on. Because if anybody found his log from the crew, right, he didn't want them to get weary and see tired, exhausted from being out to sea. He didn't want them to despair because he didn't actually want them to know the distance that they covered. Now, ironically, what happened was Christopher Columbus's second log, the log where he put the fake numbers in, was actually closer to the truth than him actually keeping the numbers. Yellow, what's up, my dude? The second log was actually closer to the truth. There's a couple points, as always, that I'd like to pull out of this story. The first one is that he knew that his crew felt uneasy. He knew that they felt afraid for going into unknown waters for an unknown amount of time. And it's here that I'd like you to insert yourself. How many times have you not spoken your mind because you're afraid of what people were going to think? How many times have you lowered your boundaries or lowered your standards because you were afraid of what people were going to say and how they were going to judge you? How many times have you bit your own tongue? How many times have you allowed people to stay around because you didn't want to be judged as the bad friend? You didn't want to be judged as a horrible person. You didn't want to be judged as a person that had the A word, the B word, or the C word. You didn't want any of these attributes assigned to you. So instead, you didn't set the boundary. You didn't speak up for yourself. You didn't have the conversations that you were necessary or that you wanted to have. You shied away from the confrontation in an attempt to be the bigger person. But in the meantime, you were dying on the inside. You were dying on the inside because your boundaries were low and people kept stepping on them. You were dying on the inside because you had a voice on the inside of you screaming at people to get out, screaming at people to respect your boundaries, screaming at people to be heard, screaming for validation, screaming for love, screaming to be held. Oh, y'all better come get me today. It's up already. How many times in your life, because you were looking out for other people, that you took your own back seat? How is it that you're supposed to be driving the vehicle on the journey that you're on and you're sitting in the back seat? How many times have we played passenger in our own journey? How many times have we watched from a sunken place, from a place of anxiety and a place of depression? How many times have we allowed other people to control the narrative inside of our lives out of fear? Fear of being marginalized, fear of being ostracized, fear of being the bad person, fear of being the black sheep of the family. And as a result of that, we just swallow everything. Pride, down the tube. Ego, down the tube. Self-esteem, down the tube. Self-worth, down the tube. Self-efficacy, down the tube. We just take it out of consideration for other people. Well, my question then becomes, how is it that you can say that you love me and you have no consideration for what it is that I stand for? How is it that you can say that you love me and you have no consideration for the code in which I live life? How is it that you can say that you love me and you mentally and emotionally abuse me by screaming insults, by constantly demeaning, by not believing in my dreams, by not allowing me to forgive myself for my past when I'm trying to move on? How is it that you can look at my dream and scoff at it? How is it that you can look at the things that I've accomplished, the journeys, the addictions that I've overcome, the regret that I've overcome? How is it that you can look at this and say that you love me? And instead of me speaking up for myself, I take your point of view into consideration. I take society's. Tanya, what's happening? Welcome in. Instead of speaking up for myself, I take your point of view into consideration. Not only do I take it into consideration, but the compromise, riding through pain, what's happened? But the compromise that I'm making, or that I agreed to make at the beginning of the relationship to meet you on common ground, is now becoming a sacrifice because I'm doing all of the giving. In addition to my responsibilities, royalty, what's happening? In addition to all of my responsibilities as a friend, as a lover, as a family member, as an uncle, as a mentor, as a big brother, I'm also taking on the responsibility for your feelings. And as a result of that, I'm choking the life out of my own purpose. As a result of that, I'm putting splinters and planks inside of my own eye. As a result of that, I can't understand what it is that I'm supposed to do because I've lost myself because I've given it to you. And you allow it to happen. Why? Because you've connected to me out of deceit and manipulation. What is it that the people in front of you are saying? What is it that they're telling you? What is it that has you so locked and latched on to them that you're afraid to let go? Some people don't move because of lack of resources, but yet they fail to plan their exit strategy. Some people have been manipulated into the point where they think that abuse is actually affection. Some people don't know how to function without a little bit of toxicity. But has the deception in your life caused you to excuse toxic behavior by calling it imperfect? Society has trained us. Society has conditioned us. Society has groomed us to not judge people, or not to condemn people, or not to look at people's behavior as evidence of the type of heart that they have. I agree with this. Some people have bad days. Some people have bad seasons, but some people just have a bad heart. And today, what I want to pull out, I want you to open your mind and look at the dynamic of the relationships that you have inside of your life. And I'd like you to tell me whether or not is the person toxic or are they just imperfect. If I'm walking by an apple tree and I'm allergic to apples, I don't condemn the apple tree. I don't deny that it's a fruit. I don't try and manipulate the situation and call the apple tree out of what it is. If I'm allergic to apples, I avoid apple trees. And it's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that the apple tree is bad. It's not that the fruit isn't good from it. It's just that it's not good for me. And here we are. Here we are in today's society, failing to use discernment, failing to use judgment, failing to use our boundaries. The very things that we set in place, we won't use. The second point I'd like to pull from this story is he kept two logs. In the first one, he kept the actual distance. And in the second one, he made up a lie. Well, this is much like people. When we first meet, when we first became friends, when we first became family, when we first became people are cool, when we first decided to hook up, when we first decided to link and form a bond, am I getting the accurate information? Or am I getting this cooked set of numbers that you made up? The second set of numbers made it all seem so simple. The second set of numbers made it all seem not as drastic as it really is. And here's where deceptive manipulation becomes toxic, because somebody will do something to you. Someone will say something about you. And when you confront this person about that thing, they'll try and convince you that it's in your head. They'll try and convince you that your standards are unreasonable. They'll try and convince you that your boundaries are unreasonable. They'll try and say that you set an impossible standard and that nobody can meet the standard. They'll try and convince you that what they did wasn't that bad, and they'll continue to find crutches for their bad behavior. And if you're not careful, you allow their deception and manipulation to talk you into receiving a direct message that you're the one that's tripping. But if you're listening to the wrong direct messenger, then deception and manipulation can actually talk you out of or make you act contrary to your divine mission. It's important that we get our DMs aligned. It's important that we get the direct messengers around us. Who are your direct messengers? The people who can make an impact on your decision. It's usually a mix of friends, family, and romantic partners. Close friends. The family members that support you. The family members who believe in you, the family members who comforted you when you were going through something. Every kiss begins with K. What's happening? It's usually those people. But it's important that we align them. Why? Because if the direct messengers are attached to deception and manipulation, it's going to cause us to miss our divine mission. Why? Because I'm going to have a distrusting mindset. I'm going to have a drained motor. I'm going to have a difficulty manifesting what's in my head and what's in my heart, so it cannot come to fruition in my hands. The third thing I want to pull out is the ironic twist is that the cooked up numbers were actually closer to the truth. What does that mean? Why? How did this happen? Well, people can only cap for so long. When a man presents himself as a gentleman, he can only behave like a gentleman for so long if it's not inside of his heart. In other words, the lies that they're trying to tell you are see-through. And it's because they've made a miscalculation in who they actually are. So when they make this miscalculation in who they actually are, they're presenting to you what they view as the best version of themselves. But in actuality, they're presenting a version of themselves that they'd like to be. It's very important. And if you take nothing else from anything else that I've said today, take this. Stop loving potential. Stop loving potential. Why? Because what happens is potential doesn't bear fruit. There's no evidence of what this person says by the fruit that they have. This is the equivalent of you catching me and I'm working. Don, what's happening? It's the equivalent of you catching me and I'm working in McDonald's and I tell you that I have an entrepreneurial spirit. This is me telling you that I'm going to open my own business. I'm going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company one day, and you asking me, where is the business plan? Where are the grants that you've applied for? Where is the degree that qualifies you to walk inside of these spaces? What meetings have you had? Who have you called? Let's go contributing to the live goal. Where is it? And this is what happens when people cook the books. Mika, what's happening? Welcome in. When people cook the books, you'll find out that it's the actions in between the words that's who the person actually is. But because we have been programmed to see the best in people, we'll call what's toxic imperfect and we'll excuse bad behavior. This is dangerous. This is dangerous to your mission. This is dangerous to your destiny. This is dangerous to the dreams that you've attempted. This is dangerous to the dreams that you've worked for all your life. This is toxic. Why? Because what happens is with deception and manipulation, it'll actually allow you to take your ops side against yourself. Shane, what's happening? It'll allow you to take your ops side against yourself. And then we scroll. Or we post videos, we post subliminal posts, we post things like, how did I get here? We post things like, I didn't think that this was going to happen to me. We post things like, I thought that I could change them. I thought that I could help this person realize their potential. When the truth of the matter is, this person never had it in them to be who they were. They were just like Christopher Columbus right here. They were cooking the books. They were trying to make things lighter than what they actually are. They were trying to deceive you and manipulate you that the deception wasn't actually as bad as it was. Y'all know what that's like. Being in a relationship with somebody, you bringing up an issue that you have. And this doesn't matter the dynamic of the relationship. You bring up an issue that you have and they'll say, girl, you tripping. Man, you're tripping. Why are you overreacting? Ducky, what's happening? This is when things like this happens. because they cook the books and who they actually are. And it's important that we pause and say, hey, look, am I being deceived? Am I being manipulated? Can this go in a different direction? Because if we're not, then we're not doing ourselves justice. We're not being fair to ourselves. The first step of self-love is actually accepting and realizing where you actually are, because you can't go to anywhere else until you get the coordinates down here. It's amazing. It's amazing how many disappointments can be avoided if you sit down and ask yourself one simple question. Am I being deceived? Am I being manipulated? Have the conversations. Get into a confrontation if you have to, because your future is worth it. Your peace is worth fighting for. Your happiness is worth fighting for. Your mental and emotional health is worth fighting for. And if you're not going to fight for yourself, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that's going to fight for you. But we sit back and we take it. Why? Well, first, we don't recognize the types. We don't recognize the types of deceptions that there actually are. Okay, so when it comes to deception, right, you have to determine what type of attack are you actually facing. Are you facing dissimulation, propaganda, sleight of hand, distraction, camouflage or concealment, or are you facing self-deception? Because all of these things pour back into one. Dissimulation is concealing one person's true thoughts or true feelings. This is that friend that you have that wants to be happy for you. They're saying all of the right things, but their body language is saying something completely different. Hey, congratulations, I got my EIN and I started my business account, and they're good for you. They're having to grin in between their teeth and say these things. Why? Because they can't truly be happy for you, because they're not. This is dissimulation. They may want to be happy, but their actions say something completely different. They may not want to be happy for you, and they're trying to manipulate you and come along for the ride. But the way that it works is when you hook up with something or you hook up with someone, the hookup actually works two ways. If I was going to tow a car, right, and I hook up to the car, I hook it onto my tow bar, the link is underneath their car, and we're ready to rock. Right? What should happen is that the car that I'm towing should go into neutral. In other words, my God, what should happen is you should take information that I give you neutrally. You should take it objectively. Those that love me and those that are going to be in my life have to take this information neutrally. It does not have a good context. It does not have a bad context. Why? Because I'm counting on your clarity. I'm counting on your discernment. I'm counting on your judgment. I'm counting on the fact that you say that you love me. So I'm linking myself to you because I need you to take what I'm saying to you objectively and not from your own bias. I need you to talk to me from a place of neutrality and not from negativity. If the car that I hook up to doesn't shift into neutral, it drains on my motor, it wears on my tires, it wears on my gas tank, it weighs on my pocket, and eventually it's going to destroy the vehicle that I'm in if I continue or I have to take it along for a distance. It's very important that the people around you have the ability to shift into neutral. The problem that we're having is that we link ourselves to people who view information, who view events in your life. We link on to people and they're looking at it from their last encounter with this thing. You meet a new man. You can't wait to tell the girls about it. You call your best friend, you call her and you say, hey, I just met a girl. I would not date him because all dudes with braids are toxic. What? I would not date him because all men with abs are toxic. What? Bro, just be careful with her, dog. You know she got that white toenail polish on her toes, man. Be careful. What? I'm opening up a new business. But you can't get over the fact that the business that you tried to open didn't open. So you're talking from me from a point of pain instead of a point of being my person. My God. We're not shifted into neutral. And in result of that, it makes the entire evolution hectic. It makes it harder than it has to be. So in order to stay connected to you in hopes of reaping the benefits of what it is that you're going to gain, what it is when you get to the Fortune 500 status, when you get to the podcast status, when you get to the book status, when you get to the anointing status, when you get to the point of you walking in purpose, I want to hook on. I want to link on to that. I want to ride the coattails to the top with you, but I'm truly not happy for you. So I disseminate information to you because I want you to believe that I'm happy for you. In actuality, I'm planning on your downfall. In actuality, I have no regard for your mental and emotional health. In actuality, I can't look at this objectively because I'm still in pain from when it didn't work out for me. In actuality, I'm still afraid to take the steps on my own, and I'm jealous that you had the courage to take this step. In actuality, I'm envious of the fact that you did the work that I refused to do. In actuality, when we link up, I just want to be along for the ride because I want you to do all of the work. We have to ensure that the information received, that the information and the events in our lives, when we tell it to our support system, that they're shifted to neutral. Otherwise, they're going to dissimulate us. The co-pilot is in the building. Kelly, good morning. Terry, what's happening? We have to ensure that it's done from a place of neutrality. The second type of deception or manipulation that we encounter is propaganda. Propaganda is biased or misleading information to try and convert you to a cause. I love you right back. It's biased or misleading information to try and to get you to commit to a cause. You knew that this man had no plans on buying a house. And now he's sitting on your couch playing the same Xbox that he was playing in his mama's basement. Uh-oh. You knew that this lady was toxic, and you knew that she carried a dagger, so it was only a matter of time before that dagger found its way to your back. Uh-oh. You knew that this man had no plans on marrying you or making you a long-term relationship, so you gave him the goods. DeJuan J, do not do this to these people. We fall for the propaganda. I want you to commit. But what happens is we're supposed to first be committed to purpose. We're first supposed to be committed to calling. And in order for us to be committed to calling, we have to look at what it is that we believe in. We have to look at our belief system and figure out what are the parameters. What are the barriers? What are the boundaries that I need set? Why? Because this is going to dictate the way that I allow people to talk to me. Because my family told me that I'd never grow up to be anything, I let any man talk to me any way that he wants to. Because my family never told me that I'd be anything. Because my family never showed me how to be a man, I let women run around on me all day. Because my family never showed me how to be a woman, I'm cool with being the block's 304. Because I never had a voice, I'm cool with not speaking up for myself. Because I was in an abusive relationship for a decade, I don't know what true love actually feels like. Why? Because somebody got you to buy into the propaganda. It's information coming from a bias. It's coming from a bias to try and get you to commit to the cause. No, honey, I'm just working on my business. How many interviews did you go on today? Don't worry about it. This business is going to take off soon. Did you write the plan today? Did you apply for a grant today? Did you go scope out buildings today? Did you go price how much it's going to cost to actually run this thing? Did you go advertise? Did you register your EIN on the IRS site? It's free. No? Oh, you just sat here and played Madden all day. Uh-oh. What do you mean that you want to be an equal partner with equal say-so, but when I ask you what you've done for your own business that I'd love to support for you, the only thing that you did was went and get a mani-pedi and a French vanilla latte from Starbucks. What are we doing? And we excuse this bad behavior because we don't want to be the person who ran out. We don't want to be the person with the failed relationship. The propaganda has caused you to buy into the cause that you're not worth setting boundaries, that you're not worth standing up for yourself. The propaganda has caused you to buy to the cause that you're a second-class lover. My God. We commit to the cause because we buy into the propaganda. Why? Because the propaganda sounds so good. We're sitting on the first date. I'm smelling like pressure, right? I'm smelling like pressure, and I'm getting to know all of the buttons to push. I'm getting to know the roadmap directly to your heart. Did you think that this wasn't going to come back? Did the first 5 times not teach you? And now here we are. How did I get here? Why? Because I allowed a direct messenger to deceive and manipulate me, and now I'm missing out on my divine mission. My DMs are all over the place. My DMs have become a jungle. Why? Because I refuse to separate wheat from tare. Why? Because I refuse to go prune the plants. Why? Because I won't pick off the rotten fruit. Why? Because I allow this rotten fruit to take the nutrients out of the good fruit. So I don't even recognize things that are good for me anymore. I don't even recognize things that are beneficial for me anymore. Because I bought into the propaganda. The third type of deception and manipulation is sleight of hand. Sleight of hand. Now, this is one thing where this usually happens in familiar relationships, right? Inside of families. This is one where you allow your cousin to crash on your couch because it's your cousin, right? Y'all grew up together. Y'all ate mud pies together. Y'all play some stickball together. Y'all been cousins, play cousins. You allow your cousin to sleep on your couch because they fell on some hard times. And then the sleight of hand in them will allow them to steal from you and then help you look for what they stole. And mentally and emotionally, it's no different. Mentally and emotionally, the same narrative plays itself out. Mentally and emotionally, what will happen is somebody will come in, they'll steal your heart, they'll pull on your heartstrings. I used to change your diapers. This is what this sounds like. I used to change your diapers. I can't believe that you would treat me like this when I practically helped raise you. They start to keep score and try and go tick for tack with you. And they'll pull at your heartstrings to the point where they manipulate you into what it is that they want from you, and then you don't hear from them again until they need something else. And because we want to be good people, because we don't want to be judged, because we don't want to be looked at as the family member who turned their back, because we don't want to be looked at as the friend who turned their back, we continue to allow this manipulation to take place. And deep down inside, we know that it needs to stop. But now we're at the point where we've been deceived to the point where we're questioning our own judgment. We're questioning our own intuition. We're questioning the Holy Spirit within us. We're questioning our own discernment. We're questioning these things because we were manipulated into it. We question these things because we were deceived into it. Why? Because it was sleight of hand. On one hand, they're patting you on the back. Ryan, what's happening, my dude? On one hand, they're patting you on the back. My grandma used to say that a pat on the back is only 2 feet away from a kick in the rear end. In other words, know the propensity. Know what people around you are capable of doing. Why? Because what happens is when they start to message me, Sky, what's happening? When they start to message me, when I'm starting to feel and hear the direct messages and I start to feed into it, I start to feed into the propaganda, I start to believe the dissimulation, I start to believe this is setting me up. This is setting me up for sleight of hand. Why? This is love bombing at its finest. This is I ain't got much, but I'll invest $100 into your business. And here you are, you got the bestseller on New York Times list. You got the #1 podcast in the world. You got the Fortune 500 company. And here comes Uncle such and such. Here comes cousin such and such. Here comes best friend such and such. You remember that $100 that I gave you? This business wouldn't be where it was if I gave. Why? What? What are you saying? We have to get to a place where we're setting boundaries and we're holding people accountable for what it is that they actually did and what they didn't do. How dare you hold my hard work hostage for $100? How dare you hold my blood, sweat, and tears hostage for $100? How dare you hold the late nights that I spent hostage for $100. How dare you say that you've always been there for me when there was one phone call and you had to talk me back into being myself? How dare you hold that hostage? You have to be careful of the people in your life that like to keep score. Because the people in your life that like to keep score are setting you up for a sleight of hand deception, sleight of hand manipulation. And a lot of us are being set up for this right here in this very moment. I know that I'm talking to somebody right now. Somebody's being set up for this right now. And today is the day that you open your eyes. Today is the day that you look yourself in the mirror and say no more. Why? Because I love my peace more than what these people are treating me. I love my happiness more than what these people are treating me. I am worth more than these people are giving me credit for. I am worth more than being talked about. I am worth more than being backstabbed. I am worth more than being held ransom by something that you did for me 10 years ago. Get over yourself. I will no longer allow this to happen. It was my blood, sweat, and tears that built this. It was my blood, sweat, and tears that had to heal myself. It was, where were you when I was crying into my pillow? Where were you when my heart was broken? Where were you when I needed somebody to give me a hug? Where were you when I needed sound advice? Where were you? You were somewhere living your own life, laughing at me, talking about me in the group text, waiting to stick another knife in my back. How dare you hold me ransom? Marvin, what's happening? How dare you hold me ransom? How dare you keep score? Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear right here, right now. Anybody that keeps score does not love you. They don't. How do I know this? How do I know this? Because they're doing things with the expectation of getting something back. They're doing something with the expectation of getting something back. This is not love. This is manipulation. And what happens is, because we have an affection for these people, we always say yes when love should have told us to say no. Love is being able to set a boundary. Love is being able to have that boundary respected. Love is having consideration before I say and do things. There are countless stories of heartbroken people that were manipulated when they thought that people were just being nice. There's people in this room. There's people in this room who've told me that they love me. And what's my question automatically? Why? How come? And if I ever say it to you, best believe I can articulate why. I do it without the expectation of anything in return. Why? Because this is genuine love. I do it because the truth of the matter is that if I do something for you, it's because I want to see you win. Funland, thank you for the follow. It's because I want to see you win. I genuinely have a vested interest in you getting what it is that you want, whether that's healing, whether that's deliverance, whether that's starting the business, whether that's starting a podcast, writing a book, getting a promotion on your job. I genuinely want to see you win. I don't want anything in return. I'm doing this off the strength of you. I'm doing this because you're God's creation. I'm doing this because my faith system and me as a core, I have this as this is a kingdom principle. It cannot be avoided. Anybody who does anything for you expecting something in return does not love you. And if you don't believe me, look at the dynamics of the relationship. Look at the dynamics of the relationship. I dare you. I dare you to lay out what's happened inside of the relationship. And I guarantee you that the giving on one side heavily outweighs the giving on the other side. But we hold on because we don't want to be the people who have a failed relationship. We hold on because we don't want to be the person to walk away first. We don't want to be looked at. But here's the thing. This is a manipulation tactic. This is a manipulation tactic from people that talk out of trauma and not triumph. My God, did you hear what I just said? We have to deal with these things from a place of triumph and not trauma. Why? Because if I'm talking out of trauma, it's you that gave up on me. It's you that walked away. It's you that ended the friendship. And I disregard any action that I've ever taken. This is manipulation at its finest. This is manipulation 101. So we have to get people around us We have to get people around us that can talk from a place of triumph. I refuse. I refuse to have anybody that comes into my life that means anything to me and I can make an impact on your decision. I refuse to leave you the same way that I found you. If I don't add value to your life, cut me off. Why? Because if I don't add value, then I'm no longer an asset. I become a liability. Because if I don't add value to you, it means that I'm looking to take it. My God, I'm talking to somebody right now. Do you hear? Do you understand? Do you understand how critical it is to make this decision? Do you understand how critical it is to look at the dynamics of these relationships and listen to the people that have influence? The direct messages, the DMs that you're looking to can cause you to miss out on your divine mission. Why? Due to deception and manipulation. I refuse. I refuse to tell you that I love you and leave you the same way that I found you. I refuse to tell you that you mean something to me and not try and help you win. I refuse to meet you, encounter you, tell you that I love you, us build a bond, and you not be better for it. And if if this has happened to you, I do apologize and I urge you to cut me off. That's how humble, open, and transparent it is. If I have not added value to your life, cut me off. Why? Because eventually what me not adding value is going to turn into taken away, right? Back to the metaphor of the car, right? If I'm going to tow that car and I don't shift the gear into neutral to at least help you pull me, help you push me into purpose, that means that eventually I'm going to wear on your tires. The tread is going to wear down. The gas is going to wear out. The engine is going to be under unnecessary stress. And a lot of our lives look like this mentally and emotionally because we're holding on to relationships because they're a good person. We're holding on to relationships like, oh, he didn't mean to punch me in the face. Oh, he didn't mean to cheat. Oh, he didn't mean to call me out of my name. Oh, she didn't mean to cheat. Oh, those girls' trips are innocent. Uh-oh. A lot of us are holding on to relationships like this. Why? Because we've been deceived and manipulated into thinking that what's toxic is actually just an imperfection. See, this is downplaying. This is downplaying the impact of what's actually happening. You can't be punched in the eye and not call a black eye a bruise. You can't be stabbed in the back and not see the wound from the stitches that were necessary for me healing myself. Stop downplaying toxic behavior. Stop allowing toxic behavior in your life because it's heartbreaking. And the truth of the matter is that so many people go through these things unnecessarily. So many people have been conditioned and groomed to accept this as a way of life, but you are much better than that. You are way more valuable than that. We start to downplay toxic behavior, and this started teenage years. This started young adult years. This started our first relationship. This started by not surrounding ourselves with the right people. This started because we chased being fashionable. We chased being cool, so we're willing to accept any type of behavior. But let me tell you something and be clear here today. If you live for people's exception, you'll die by their rejection. If you live for the validation and the acceptance of people, you will die by their rejection. I gotta move. But if you take nothing else, look at the dynamics of the relationships that are happening around you. You have to. It's a must. Why? Because the tears that I spent trying to heal myself. The nights where I stay up overthinking if I played the situation right. We have to determine whether or not I actually overreacted, or is this a deception or manipulation tactic meant to keep me in a condition. The only people who benefit when you have no boundaries. The only people that get mad when you set boundaries are the people that benefited when you have none. The only people who get mad when you call out deception and manipulation are the people doing the deceiving and the manipulating. It's sleight of hand. I'll shake your hand with the velvet glove to make you believe that I don't have an iron fist. My God. And truth of the matter is that this happened. We know about this. We've read it. We've seen it play out in movies. We've seen it play out in plays. We've seen it in real life. Some of us have anecdotes. But we continue to downplay toxicity by calling it imperfection. Stop allowing people to use what's happened to you. Stop allowing people to weaponize your life experience. This is sleight of hand at its finest. The next type of deception is distraction. The next type of deception is distraction. And what happens with distraction is if, let's say that Dominic drove my car through the garage door. He'll come and break a window to get me distracted from what the bigger issue is. And what happens is these are speeches that go like this. You call out a friend, you call out your lover, you call out a family member on something, and they'll say something like, no, I didn't do that. Now, okay, I will do that. I will say that I did this and this was wrong, but I did not do that. When the truth of the matter is, yes, you did. Well, if you're going to be angry at me about the broken window and not the garage door being broken. Either way, it's costing me. It's costing me time, talent, and treasure to have to deal with this, when if you had any consideration for me at all, you wouldn't have done this, or you wouldn't have said this in the first place. Thank you for the roses. I see you, fun. Okay, I'll admit this, and this was wrong, and maybe I should have thought about this before I said it. Yeah, you should have. Why am I the only person in the dynamic of the relationship that's responsible for respecting the sanctity of the relationship? My God. Why is it? Why is it that when I react or when I respond, I'm the bad person? You distract me. You distract me from believing that something was as toxic as it could have been, or as toxic as it was. This is one of the most common types of deception. This is one of the most common types of deception. Why? What happens? Because projection falls underneath this type of deception. Projection falls under this type of manipulation. Let's go, Kirby, contributing to the live goal. When people project their insecurities, when people project their jealousy, when people project their infidelity, this is a form of distraction. I'm going to point the finger at you and make you defend yourself, because if you're on defense, you can't play offense. My God. Offense and defense is never played at the same time. So what happens here is that I'm going to throw you off the scent, or I'm going to attempt to throw you off the scent by distracting you with something minor. Love bombing falls under this type of deception and manipulation. You don't believe me? I punch you in the eye, and I come with the biggest teddy bear you've ever seen. I come with more flowers than your house has ever had. I tell you that I love you. I fly you out. I take you on the vacation that you've always wanted to go to try and distract you from the fact that I'm actually toxic. I try and distract you from the wound. But let me explain something to you. If I was to get stabbed in the abdomen and I go and I get the stitches, even though I'm no longer bleeding, the scar is still there. Did you hear what I just said? Stop trying to distract me from the fact that I once had stitches there. Stop trying to distract me from the fact that my skin is no longer as beautiful as it was because it has a scar. Stop trying to distract me from the fact that you've betrayed a level of trust. Stop trying to distract me from the fact that you never believed in me and now you want something from me. Stop trying to distract me from the fact that you're actually jealous and you're actually envious. Stop trying to distract me from that other group text that I wasn't supposed to find out about, but I have friends that are more loyal to me than they are to... Okay. Let me just find something safe to do today. What happens is that people they'll do what they want to do, and they'll try and distract you from how toxic it actually is. As a Christian, one of the things that one of the most infuriating things that I experience is when people do something to offend me, and I don't react to it. I'll respond. I'll look and I'll say, you know what? God's going to deal with them. But I'm having a conversation with you. Hey, because of this, I feel like this. And as a result of this, I'm going to put some distance in between us. And what they'll say to me is, that wasn't even that big of a deal. They'll say, you're supposed to be a Christian. You're supposed to forgive. Okay, cool. Well, just because I forgive does not mean there has to be a reconciliation. I preached this on Thursday when I talked about there's a difference between showing remorse and being repentant. People that show remorse are people who say that I'm sorry. People, hey, I feel bad for doing this. But repentance is a change in behavior. In other words, don't tell me that you're sorry if you're not prepared to change your behavior. This is the best form of apology. And you can't tell me how to respond to what it is that you did. Coach, what's happening? Long time no see. Don't tell me. The next type of manipulation or deception is camouflage or concealment. Camouflage or concealment. This is where the most cheesy example that I can think of is when you have younger men getting and marrying with senior citizens, or you have younger women marrying senior citizens, and they try and make them believe that they're loved just long enough to get written into the will so they can get all of the inheritance. Right? This is concealment. What are your actual motives? What are your actual motives? What is it that you actually want from me? In the words of the great man Drake, I wish that people that speak to me would tell me what they seek from me the first second they speak to me. Right? Just tell me what you want. Chances are I'm going to give it to you. Why? Because I serve a God that's big enough to give me what I want 100-fold. I believe that my purpose has put me on a path to get what it is that was promised to me. I believe these things. So if you ask me, I'm probably going to give it to you. There's no need to conceal your motives. And then you dress it up like you're doing it for my sake. You dress it up as if you actually wanted the bond. You dress it up as if you actually wanted a relationship. You dress it up as actually you loved me. But the truth of the matter is you wanted the thing that I could do for you. You wanted the thing that I have for you. You wanted some of the things that I have, and you never actually had any affection towards me. But because I'm going to use judgment, because I'm going to use discernment, shoe easy, what's happening? Because I'm going to use judgment, I'm going to use discernment, I'm going to be able to snuff this out. I don't care if I have one I don't care if I have one friend on this planet. I don't. I really don't. I'm in my heavy on leave me alone era. I'm heavy on my don't disturb my peace era. I'm heavy on my don't disturb my mental health era. I'm heavy on don't make me come out of this Christianity era. And because I'm in such a place, my vetting process for friendships, my vetting process for relationships, my vetting process for who I call family is long. Why? Because I have to try the spirit by the spirit. My purpose and my peace is too important. It's too precious to me to just give it away to anybody, especially people who have not earned it, especially people who I have not had around long enough to see if this is concealment or camouflage. I refuse to be manipulated or deceived into love. Because the truth of the matter is that if you're doing this, you're toxic. Point blank, period. And if this is being done to you, and you start to look around and evaluate the dynamic of the relationship that you're in, and you see that you were manipulated into that, you're not in love, you're in enslavement. My God. You're a slave. You've been deceived. You've been manipulated. Oh, this is heavy. This is heavy today. Listen, here's the thing. People are actually robbing you. They're robbing you of your sanity. Gaslighting, form of manipulation. Love bombing, form of manipulation. Downplaying the incident, form of manipulation. And when you start to call these things out, these people call you things like crazy. People call you out of your mind. But what happened is that you are actually their slave. Why? Let me prove it. Because you can't focus on your purpose. You've given up your own identity. You've given up your own vision. You've given up your own dream. You've given up on the very things that you want in order to pacify the person that's doing the manipulation. And they can manipulate you into whatever way that you want to. You are not in love. You are entrapped. You are enslaved. But today, because I'm going to correct my DMs, I'm no longer going to allow a direct messenger to deceive or manipulate me, and it's going to get me back in focus. It's going to get my divine mission back in focus. Why? Because my motor has been drained. I have a drained motor, DM, because of the exhaustion that I'm carrying from trying to fight this manipulation. And it's happened to the point where camouflage and concealment actually trick you into self-deception. Self-deception is probably the most dangerous. Why? Because you take your op side against yourself. You take everybody and everything that's ever come against you. You take their side against yourself. And how is it? How is it that you expect other people to fight for you? How is it that you expect someone to stand up for you? How is it that you expect anybody to come to your defense when you won't come to your own defense, when you question what my motives are? Why? Johnny broke your heart 10 years ago, and now you don't trust any man with a goatee and his light skin. Johnny broke your heart and he cheated on you, so every person that looks like Johnny is a cheater. Keisha broke your heart and cheated on you 16 years ago, and now you don't trust all women. Because you had a baby with the wrong... Okay, do not do this, DeJuan. What happened? What happened? What happened? We end up sitting back. Man, I probably should not have had a baby with that one. Bro, you knew she was toxic when you met her. In fact, you like that. My God. You like that. And now you don't even trust your own intuition. You don't even trust your own judgment. So you self-deceive. You say, oh, I'm crazy. Oh, I'm dumb. Oh, I'm not smart. This was a good man to me. This was a good woman to me. You knew that person was toxic when you met them. You identified with some of the traits. Watch me prove it. The flip side of every opportunity or every good trait is something that's going to gut you. Watch. You want somebody that's driven and hardworking, but this is the same man that's never going to be at home. He doesn't have time to spend with you because his focus is on his career and progressing in life. You want somebody that's nurturing, but this is the same type of person that becomes possessive and jealous. You want should I keep going? Case in point is every time that you're praying for the ideal person, you're actually asking for an incident to test the resolve of the love that's been there. My God. Did you hear what I just said? Every single time. So the truth of the matter is this person going to come forward and accurately represent themselves, or are they going to cook the books and send a representative? And if they're doing this, and you've seen this before, this is not for you to take your wounds and utilize them as weapons. This is not what's supposed to happen here. What's supposed to happen here is you're supposed to learn the lesson. You're supposed to learn the signs of being deceived. You're supposed to learn the signs of manipulation and guard yourself from this happening again. What am I saying? What I'm saying is, what the difference is, when you use your wounds as weapons, you took what's happened to you and you weaponized that to the point that you're hurting other people. But when you use this as a lesson and as a sign for something, there's empathy, grace, and compassion there. In other words, if somebody displays a trait that your ex displayed, it warrants a conversation, because this person is not that person. There's 9 billion people on the planet. And if you want to be treated as an individual, why are you not doing the same thing? How can you typecast? How can you stereotype? How can you prejudge? How can you go into anything with a bias? Why? Because deception and manipulation have told you that every single person is this way, and it's caused you to self-deceive yourself, saying that you're only worthy of this. My God, get off me. What? We deceive ourselves into thinking that we don't deserve any better than what we have right now. How? How is this possible? There's this old wise saying that says, people are born looking like their parents, but they die looking like their decisions. What's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is discernment. Okay, discernment. Okay, discernment is the difference between destiny and a slow death. Discernment is the difference between realizing your dream and dying slowly. Wow, what happens? Discernment is the natural, God-given ability to assess the true nature of an individual or an opportunity. The God-given ability to assess the true nature of an individual or an opportunity. This isn't common sense. This isn't common sense. This isn't skepticism. This isn't cynicism. Because common sense and skepticism comes from as a result of our scars. Put that in the point. Skepticism is a result of our scars. We've been hurt. We've been burned. We've been betrayed. We've been disappointed. We've been rejected. We've had countless doors shut in our face. We've been manipulated. We've been used for our body. We've been used for our material possessions. We've been used for all of these things in our lives. And it's made us skeptical of everything. But if I'm skeptical of everything, I start to build this nice little perimeter around myself. And what I meant for a barrier has now become a prison. What was meant for my protection has now become a cell block. You have to decide. When you get cut, when you get disappointed, does it hurt? Yes. Am I sensitive to that? Yes. Do I know that you're going to be okay? Yes. How do I know this? Because I know that you were fearfully and wonderfully created. I know that you are more than a conqueror. I know that you were born with everything that you needed to overcome any obstacle. I know that you know that in order for a way to be made, there must be an obstacle in the way first. I know that you are focused on your... I know these things. So if I know this about you, why don't you know this about you? Instead, we get cut and we allow this scar to make us become skeptical, and we start to build this perimeter about ourselves. But in addition to keeping people out, it also stops you from going out. How is it that you want something different, but you're running around the same territory? How is it that you want something different? You want a different type of woman. You want a different type of man, but you're shopping at the same place. My God. You want a different opportunity in your career, but you won't get any new qualifications. You want somebody to respect your word. You want to show people that you're no longer that addict that they once condemned you to be, but you're not behaving any different. Okay. Skepticism is a result of your scars. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about judgment versus assessment. Okay? Because one of the things that I encounter as a Christian is people say, oh, the Bible says just lest you be judged. Okay, cool. Let's discuss the difference. Let me free somebody here today. I'm going to free you here today. Right? So judgment means that to render a verdict. Right? I can't cast judgment or render a verdict on anything or anybody because no matter how much I know, I'm not equipped with enough information. Okay? But an assessment, it means to make a decision based off of the evidence. I can't judge you because I don't know you, but I can judge what this behavior, I can assess what this behavior is. I can assess what your patterns are. I can assess this and decide that it's not for me. I can decide that I'm not supposed to be here. I can decide that you're not supposed to be in my life. I can decide that you're not equipped enough to come with me on this portion of my journey. Why? Because I have my focus in mind. I have my vision in mind. I know exactly how it is that I'm going to get there. I know who I am and I know whose I am. In other words, if you're not equipped with anything to add value to the equation, it means that you're just a distraction. You're camouflaged. Your intentions are not clear. So no, I'm not judging you, and I'm not saying that you're not a good person. You're just not good for me right here, right now. There's a difference between judgment and assessment. Just because I look at something and say, hey, that behavior is not consistent with what I believe. That behavior is not consistent with my values. That behavior is not consistent with what I hold to be true. This is not judgment. I'm not condemning you. I don't have a heaven or a hell to put you in. I can't render a verdict because I don't know the intent behind it. But what I can tell you is that this pattern right here, I don't like it. I can tell you that you'll never be close enough to impact my decision making. I can tell you that we'll never be close enough to go to bed together. I can tell you that you can't be close enough where I'm bearing my soul to you. I'll never trust you with sensitive information about myself. Why? Because the patterns that you're displaying tells me to assess and deduce that you are not the type of person that I need to be that type of vulnerable with. Okay. Yeah, Avon said people hate this, but we don't owe anyone but Jesus, right? And here's the thing. Here's the difference, right? When you discern, right? When you assess the fruit of a person, when you assess the evidence of a person, you can decide if this person having a bad day or they having a bad season, because this is possible. This is possible. A person can have a bad day, a person can have a bad season, or is it the latter, where they have a bad heart? And here's where that objectivity, right, the ones that we're expecting from other people, Katie, what's happening? The neutrality that we're expecting from other people, here's where we have to display that. Here's where we have to process everything objectively, detached from emotions, right? If Katie tells me, yo, this is not good, queen of her castle, what's happening? If she tells me, hey, I caught that sermon the other day, I don't know. I got to take that objectively. Okay, well, correct me. Where did I go wrong? Talk to me. Tell me what it is that you did or what you saw. I have to take that objectively, right? Because if I say, oh, well, she don't like my preaching, she going to hell. What? You don't believe the way that I believe, so you going down. What? You don't like the things that I like, so you're bad. What? What are we saying? How is it that we expect neutrality, we expect an opportunity, we expect open-mindedness, we expect to be received, we expect to be respected as a person, but we're not doing the same thing? But what happens is because we fail to assess the situation accurately, we end up tied to a bunch of toxic situations that traumatize us and prevents us from getting to triumph. My God, did you hear what I just said? We tie ourselves to traumatic situations, and that prevents us from triumph. We have to be able to accurately and righteously assess situations. We have to be able to accurately and rightly assess behaviors. We have to be able to accurately and rightly assess opportunities. We have to be able to do that. What do I mean? What I mean is, just because a door is open, it doesn't make it a good opportunity. I do not have time to get into this today. See, so what people fail to realize is when you accurately assess, when you accurately have discernment inside of your life, what this does is it trims the amount of options that are available to you. And we look at this as a bad thing, but it's not. It's actually the biggest blessing that you could ever have. Shuzi said, what equals a bad heart? I don't feel anyone has a bad heart. Environment, mental, and health, a big factor. Okay. Let me give you an example. Short of a chemical imbalance, right? People don't go sexually assault other people. Short of a chemical imbalance, right? See, people got this confused, and I'm going to talk about this real quick. Let me just dive in, right? Short of a chemical imbalance, what I'm saying is that the sexual assault is not about the actual sex; it's about the power. When people go and they do these things, we're speaking international. No, I'm just talking in general, right? I'm talking about people in general. There is a such thing as a bad heart. There's a such thing as a hardened heart. There's a such thing as a stone heart. Now, was there something that caused this? Yes, right? Just like milk, right? Inherently, milk is not bad. But if I leave milk on the counter for 6 hours, the milk goes bad. It's no longer good for consumption. It no longer can nourish me. It can no longer do the things that it was supposed to do. Selfless, what's happening, love? It can no longer do the things that it was supposed to do. It can no longer carry out its purpose. The milk is bad. Hearts are the same way. Now, I believe, right? And the people that know me, they will tell you, I genuinely love everybody that I come in contact with. Right? Genuinely. Right? Like, this is the first time that I seen you pop into here, but I love you already. You know why? Because you're God's creation. You know why? Because you're a person. You know why? Because you deserve it. You know why? Because you haven't done anything to offend me. You know why? It's because you were fearfully and wonderfully created, and I believe in you as much as you believe in you. So I genuinely love you, and I've never even met you. People in the chat that know me can tell you I operate and I live life this way. I literally want to see every single person that I come in contact with win. Even the people that offend me, I want to see them win. They just can't win while playing on my team. I still want to see you win, though. And if I can help you, even though you did this one thing, if I can help you, I will. This is how I am, right? So what I'm saying to you is that there are times when I've had to look at people, the heart of people. Thank you. I had to look at the heart of people and determine, hey, this is a bad-hearted person. Now, just because a person has a bad heart today, it doesn't mean they can't be redeemed tomorrow. That's not what that means. In its current condition, it's not good. Does that answer your question? When just because a door is open, it doesn't make it a good opportunity. Because when we look at these opportunities, right, and doors get closed in our face, right, they have the option to slim down your options. Now check this out. The more options and ability you have, the more that you need to protect yourself against manipulation. Why? Because what seems to happen is it's kind of like you have. All right, let's take it. Let's take something lighthearted, right? Back in the day, right? One of my favorite cartoons was DuckTales, and Scrooge McDuck went swimming in two different ways. Scrooge McDuck went swimming in the pool, or he went swimming in the money bin. Now, if I took a coin from Scrooge's money bin, he probably wouldn't notice. Why? Because he has so many coins to choose from. He had too much to look at. He had too much that he was accountable for, too much that he was responsible for. Now, how does this relate to our options? Right? When I'm talking about job opportunities, I'm talking about promotion opportunities, right? We have to realize that we spend 1/3 of our life at work. So if we have a lot of options, we're going to be like, hey, I'm going to pick this one because it's the highest paying, but you're going to be miserable. Hey, I'm going to pick this because it seems the most fun, but it's not enough to pay your bills. I'm going to pick this one because this puts me in proximity to that. Right. So doors being closed in your face are actually a blessing. Why? Because it limits the amount of options. And now what I can do, yes, DuckTales. And now what I can do is I can align my gifts, my talents with the amount of options that I have, and then figure out what's going to make the best marriage for purpose, for people, for progress, for prosperity. But listen, and if the window don't open, I'm kicking the door in. Well, I used to, right? So what happens is I had to learn that some closed doors are actually blessings, right? And that not now doesn't mean never, right? That required me to learn patience on my part. It required me to go back and learn what it was that I had to learn to qualify me to walk inside of that door, right? And what happens is when people have a bunch of options, right? Here's the source of infidelity. It's options. DeJuan J, we do not have time to get into this right now. Here's what happens with infidelity. It's the amount of accessibility and options that people have. Stop trying to use logic with somebody that's under the influence of anything else. So if we're in a relationship together, the love that we have for one another, the respect that we have for one another, the future that we both agreed to should be what's influencing my decision making. Yeah. But when I'm under the influence of another woman, logic doesn't make sense to me. When I'm under the influence of alcohol, logic doesn't make sense to me. When I'm under the influence of my own ego, my God, logic does not make sense to me. And a lot of us, we talk until we're blue in the face to get these people to try and understand our point of view. But if I'm under the influence of anything other than God, purpose, and the person that I'm with, it does not make sense to me. It does not compute. It doesn't register. I want to hear you, but do I really? I tell you that I want to hear you, but I'm really using some of that camouflage and concealment. I want to hear you, or am I trying to distract you? I want to hear you, but am I using love bombing to keep you pacified? The logic, the math ain't mathing. Y'all kids still say that? The math ain't mathing. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And what happens is that we end up needing a sense of closure. We end up needing a sense of closure. Why? Because what happened to us, our mind can't process because we're looking at it from a logical place when the act in itself was illogical. When the betrayal in itself was illogical. You want to know why cheating hurts so much? It's not that I'm getting ready to step on some toes right here, right now. You knew when you met this person that they had the ability to betray you. You knew that they had the potential to betray you. You knew it, right? And this is why so many of us, Tiff, what's happening? That's why so many of us was like, I knew it. I shouldn't have allowed myself to get played like this. I shouldn't have. We knew that the person had the potential to betray us, but it's not the betrayal that hurts. It's the fact that we wasn't braced. My God. It's the fact that we wasn't braced. Back in the day, when I was a kid, when I was a little knucklehead, right? We used to play this game called Test the Champion, right? And what would happen? What would happen during this game is that, listen, I can't stress to you enough. This happened a long time ago, long time ago. Okay, so my cousins and I would play this game called Test the Champion, and what that means was we'd all be walking. We'd be walking down the street, right? And what would happen is we'd see somebody walking down the street. Empress Empowerment, what's up, love? We would be walking down the street, and anytime somebody said jump, 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 what would happen is we'd have to punch the person that they were saying like 100%. We'd have to punch them hard as possible. Now, sometimes this led to an outright assault, right, and battery charge. Sometimes this led to a fist fight. Sometimes this led to us being laughed at because we couldn't overcome the reaction of the person. And I'm bringing this up because the thing that hurt the people so much wasn't necessarily the punch. It was the fall. It wasn't necessarily the fact that they were struck. It was the fact that they wasn't prepared. Right? So when cheating happens, when infidelity happens, Mama G, what's happening? When cheating happens, when infidelity happens, it is not the betrayal that actually hurts you. It's actually the fact that you weren't braced. It's actually because if you were braced for it, if you were prepared for it, and you weren't surprised by it because you knew that this person had this within them, you knew that this person had the potential to do this. So you're not surprised at the betrayal. You're surprised at the fact that you weren't braced. And you say to yourself things like, I can't believe that I gave this person this. I can't believe that I put my trust into this person. I can't believe that I did this. When the truth of the matter is you did the best that you could with the information that you had. You were deceived and manipulated into an Eros type of love that caused you to error. And that judgment, that lapse in judgment caused you to not pay attention to those red flags, right? It's not your fault. This happens chemically, right? Those of y'all that have been here, y'all know, right? Noradrenaline, dopamine, frontal cortex, reasoning, and logic, right? Boom. Okay, cool. So what happens is the fact that you're not braced. And the first thing that happens is you become numb. Oh, The butterflies have flown away. I'm numb. I'm sitting here. Why? Because you're trying to logically process it, but you can't logically process it because you can't think the way that that person is thinking. Why? Because you're under the influence of love. You're under the influence of what's right. You're under the influence of covenant. You're under the influence of the relationship. You're under the influence of what you all agreed to. And this person is under the influence of something else. Ego, other people, alcohol, drugs. So stop trying to use logic with people that are under the influence of something else or someone else. Stop trying to make the math. 3 plus 3 will never equal 7. Ever. There is no... It does not exist. Let me park right here. Let me park right here. I'm going to give y'all 3 traits, and here's where we're going to pick up next week. I told y'all in the very beginning. Avon, thanks for pulling it up. I told y'all in the very beginning that this was going to be a 2-parter. So I'm going to give y'all 3 traits. And next week I'll give y'all 6 traits. Okay. So what happens is the traits of somebody that is manipulating you is greed, entitlement, and deceitful behavior. Greed, entitlement, and deceitful behavior. When greed is when people are only happy as the last yes that you gave them, right? And we downplay this by calling it spoiled. They're 47. They're not spoiled. They're just greedy, right? Entitlement is when people say, "Hey, just because they were around when you were in the struggle, they think that they're entitled to the reward." Right? And deceitfulness is refusal to expose true motives. Refusal to expose true motives. Right? We'll talk about this and we'll pick this right back up next week. Y'all pull up on me next Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Questions, comments, or concerns about today's conversation, put them in the chat.